Sikh Canadians staged protests right across the country, calling for the expulsion of India's ambassador to Canada.
Khalistan! Zindabad! Khalistan! Zindabad! Khalistan!
Meanwhile, House Speaker Anthony Rota has officially apologized in Parliament and is now facing growing calls to resign after he invited a Ukrainian man who fought with the Nazis to be honored in Parliament. Joining us with these stories and much more is the Globe and Mail's Laura Stone. Lots to watch and talk about today, Laura.
Very busy times, Anne-Marie.
Let's start with India being one of the largest economies in the world and one of huge importance to the West. And as tensions continue on both sides, Canada and India, what position is Ottawa finding itself in here?
Well, Ottawa's in a very difficult position here, Anne-Marie, because India was supposed to be one of those economies that Canada was going to look to diversify trade from other countries such as China, for instance. And now we have the free trade talks with India paused. We have a trade mission on ice. And then, of course, we have these protests from Sikh Canadians outside of embassies calling for expulsion of Indian officials. We have the Indian government putting a freeze on visas for Canadians. So tensions are really ratcheting up here, and it doesn't really seem like there's an end to this. We have both sides kind of digging in their heels in Canada, looking to its allies to back up its allegation that the Indian government was involved in the assassination of a Canadian citizen. We know that that investigation is continuing from Canadian authorities, but really from an economic and business perspective, this could do great damage to Canada because India is one of those major economies that Canada was looking to bolster trade. And we know that several provinces, including Saskatchewan, does a significant amount of trade right now with India. So lots of consequences potentially for the Canadian economy.
I want to talk about Parliament for just a second. House Speaker Anthony Rota is facing growing calls to resign this morning. Russia has repeatedly framed its invasion of Ukraine as a way to denazify the country. How is Moscow leveraging this incident of the House Speaker bringing somebody in while Zelensky is there, gets a standing ovation, honors him in the speech, now has had to apologize twice?
There is great concern, I think, in the international community that the incident in Canada's Parliament is playing right into Russia's disinformation campaign. And we heard those concerns from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau yesterday, who called this deeply embarrassing for Canada and cautioned against Russian disinformation. But this is used by Russia now as further justification for its invasion of Ukraine. So it really kind of has the opposite effect of what President Zelensky's visit was intended to have when he came to Parliament. I think there's a lot of surprise now in political circles, including even among Liberals, that the Speaker is staying on and has not yet resigned. We know that he is meeting with the House leaders today at noon, but the pressure does seem to be ratcheting up for him to step aside. We had the NDP and Bloc Québécois call for this. Interestingly enough, Anne-Marie, the Conservatives have not, and they're trying to pin this more on the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's office, saying that it's implausible that he did not know that this person was to be honored in the House of Commons. So lots of political games being played as well.
Yeah, in case anybody missed it, this is how the Prime Minister framed it yesterday.
This is something that is deeply embarrassing to the Parliament of Canada and, by extension, to all Canadians. I think particularly of Jewish MPs and all members of the Jewish community across the country.
So when the Prime Minister publicly calls your actions deeply embarrassing to all Canadians, how likely is it that, Rota will still have his position by the end of the week?
You know what? I think a lot of people think he's going to resign, Anne-Marie, but again, he hasn't yet. And so he is obviously trying to hang on. We did hear 2 apologies from him already, a written one and then one in the House of Commons. But he was the source of great criticism, even among Liberals. We heard from House Leader Karina Gould yesterday speaking about this, and she actually tried to purge the honor of the Ukrainian man from the official record. The Conservatives slapped this down and said they will not be erasing history. So I think it's very likely that he steps down, although I've been wrong before and he hasn't yet. But you know what? He's facing so much pressure now from not even domestically, but also internationally. This is a huge incident, so lots of people think he will be stepping aside, but he has not.
Laura, I'd also like your insights on something that's happening this morning in Toronto. In Ontario, there are roadblocks up around Queen's Park right now. This is because of a second day of healthcare protests. So you can see it here. The legislature, they're back in session. There was loud protest over privatization of healthcare and over the Greenbelt reversal. But the blockades around Queen's Park they're pretty heavy. There's SWAT vehicles, there's dump trucks, there's buses. What is happening today? That seems like a lot of manpower for a healthcare protest.
Well, I mean, it looks like they're preparing for a significant amount of people to descend on Queen's Park. We know that the Health Coalition is fighting against what they are calling privatization of healthcare, because the Ford government has further expanded the use of for-profit clinic for routine surgeries, such as cataract surgeries. They're going to expand this to hip surgeries. They say they're doing this to address the wait lists. But you can see that there is significant interest, obviously, in what's going on with the healthcare system. We had a summer that was completely focused on the Greenbelt snafu and the controversy. And after months of pressure, Premier Ford did back down from that. So I think you're seeing from some of these other advocates and groups saying, look, if we put the pressure on this government hard enough, they actually look like they can reverse their plans. So certainly they're preparing for a significant amount of people. And there was lots of organization behind this healthcare protest yesterday and then again today.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of manpower for people that we called heroes and banged pots and pans for during the pandemic. We'll have to watch and see how it unfolds. Laura, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.